In this video we're going to have a look at adding and subtracting fractions. To do this we're going to use the smiling kiss method. Whilst this method has some limitations, it will always get you a correct answer. You might just have to simplify it at the very end. So let's have a look at some examples. In my first question I'm asked to work out 3/5 added to 2/7. I'm going to start off by drawing on my smile. This tells me that I need to do 5 times 7, and I know that 5 times 7 is 35, so I'm going to put that on the bottom of my fraction. Next, I need to do my kiss. To do this, I'm going to start off top left to bottom right, that's 3 times 7, and that I need to write at the top of my fraction, so 21. And then I need to go bottom left to top right, which is 5 times 2. Again, that means that I need to write 10 at the top of my fraction. Finally, I need to put a plus sign between these two calculations because we're adding the fractions together. Hopefully you can see that the top two calculations form an X within your question. This is the kiss part of the method. So the smile tells you what goes on the bottom of your fraction and the kiss tells you what goes on the top. We can finish off our question by working out the calculation on the top. So I know that 21 add 10 is 31, so that goes on the top of my fraction, and on the bottom it stays as 35. We can use the same method for the other questions. In my second example, I'm asked to work out 2/3 take away 1/10. Again, I'm going to start off with my smile at the bottom. I know that 3 times 10 is 30, so that needs to go on the bottom of my fraction. Next, I need to go top left to bottom right. 2 times 10 is 20, so I'm going to put that on the top. And then I'm going to go bottom left to top right. This gives me 3 times 1, which is 3. That's also going to go on the top. Lastly, I need to put a minus sign between those two numbers on the top because we're subtracting our fractions this time. The final thing to do is to work out the top part of my fraction, and I know that 20 take away 3 is 17, that goes on the top, and then we still have the 30 on the bottom. In my final two examples, I'm going to demonstrate the limitations of the smiling kiss method. Whilst the method does get me a correct answer, it will not be in its simplest form. Both of these answers will need simplifying at the very end. My next question asks me to work out 1/6 added to 3/4. As with before, I'm going to start off with my smile. I know that 6 times 4 is 24, so that needs to go on the bottom of my fraction. Top left to bottom right gives me 1 times 4, which is 4. That needs to go on the top of my fraction, along with bottom left to top right, which is 6 times 3. This gives us 18 on the top. Again, we want to put a plus sign because we're adding the two fractions together. And working this out gives me 22 on the top, that's 4 add 18, and 24 on the bottom. Now, some of you will have noticed that I can divide the top and the bottom of this fraction by 2, which is what I was on about, simplifying my fraction. 22 divided by 2 gives me 11 on the top, and 24 divided by 2 gives me 12 on the bottom. So 11/12 is my answer in its simplest form. In the last example, we're asked to work out 8/9 subtract 2/3. As with before, let's start off with the smile. This gives me 9 times 3, which is 27, and that needs to go on the bottom of my fraction. Top left to bottom right is 8 times 3. which means 24 needs to go on the top of my fraction, and bottom left to top right is 9 times 2. This gives me 18, and that also needs to go on the top of my fraction. Because we're subtracting the two fractions, I need to put a minus sign between these calculations. Now, working this out on the top gives me 24 take away 18, which is 6. And on the bottom, we've got 27. And again, this can be simplified. We want to divide the top and the bottom by 3 this time. So, on the top, 6 divided by 3 gives us 2. And on the bottom, 27 divided by 3 gives us 9. This means that my final answer is 2/9, which is written in its simplest form.